Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Thursday, October 27th, just 4 days left of October. I don't know where it's gone. It's been crazy, hectic. It's been a few days since we've been live, thanks to, I like to say, my co-host here. Not my friend, not my colleague, my co-host, Andrew McInnis, to bump our usual Wednesday show to Thursday. I've been running around with my head cut off as I get ready to jump on a cruise ship Sunday afternoon, heading to 5 ports: St. Thomas, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, a Caribbean cruise. Where's Billy Ocean? Caribbean Queen. Maybe I can find a Caribbean Queen. Who the hell knows? But we got a lot to talk about. We got CFL playoffs. Some would say playoffs. NHL, where Andrew and I have been going back and forth. He's crushing it as always. We're getting our feet wet. Got sniped last night. Got hooked. Oilers team total over 3.5. Lands 3-1. Was hoping to get that extra empty netter late there. But we come back with the Heat money line or minus 139 at Portland. A big second half, they blow them out. But we got a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Mr. Jeff Dawson, what's going on?
How are you, my friend?
Doing very well. I'm looking forward to it. You're heading to the Caribbean, and tomorrow night I'm headed to Ireland. So we're both doing some vacationing or a little bit of traveling at least. We're still going to be working no matter where we are, but I'm excited. And hey, it's a great time to be a sports fan right now. Lots and lots going on. So look forward to diving into it. And it kind of sucks because last week, Jeff, was the week in the CFL that decided all the playoff matches. However, the playoffs don't start until next week. So there's 2 spots that I like on the CFL card. There's one of them, there was a move by just a hook. But as you know, in football, all the half points do matter. But yeah, look forward to breaking down some CFL, some NHL with you, and anything else you want to get into. Looking forward to, actually, I got to ask you a question because I'm just messing with you here. But I feel like every single person I talk to that's American, before they go on a trip, they got to get a new passport or they got to redo their passport. I know you guys have Los Angeles, Vegas. You've got the East and West. You guys have your own world. You don't even need to leave America. But I feel like everybody just always is getting a new passport. Were you renewing or getting a new? What was the deal with that?
I have never had a passport. My oldest daughter, Caitlin, had her passport in high school. She went on a 2-week trip to Spain. She needed it. Myself, my wife, and my daughter needed to get passports.
Right. And so this is your first time. It's your first time out of the country?
I've been to Aruba a million years ago. Didn't need a passport then. And yeah, I've been to Montreal a handful of times. I've been to Toronto a couple times. I have never gone out of the country. And the funny thing is, I could talk for 2 hours what has happened to me on Monday and what happened on Wednesday, but we won't bore everyone. But the funny thing at this point, or I didn't think I was going to be able to get one. So I was like, shit, I'm never going to be able to leave the country after all.
Did you have to put a push on it? 'Cause I know I had some friends that, especially while COVID was going on, it was so weird that the lines were they said pretty much you have to put a push on it if you want to get yours really extra fast and pay a little extra money, but you have to come back like a couple of weeks before your trip, not like 2 months before the trip. It was so weird. Did you have to rush it, like pay extra or pay the extra shipping and stuff like that? Because I imagine that those offices in America are probably pretty busy right about now. It's that time when people start booking vacations.
Yeah, what we had to do was literally the cruise. The passport was not mandatory. but was recommended. And then like a month before, they sent us an email saying they're now mandatory. So what ended up happening is the wife called up there to Boston, and they said for us to call back on the 17th, and they would set us a date where we could go in, get our passports, meaning you do all your applications, you get your pictures taken, you bring everything up that they need, and they okay it, and then you come back 2 days later and pick it up. So what happened was the family was there on Monday. The wife and daughter got theirs approved. I didn't. I had to then go to Dorchester to get another piece of paper to then come back on Wednesday to pick up their two, to get mine approved at 12:30, to come back at 3:00, wait in line to then get it. So we have all three approved, officially in hand, ready to go.
You're going to have a good time, though. And I feel like the stress sometimes makes it that much more worth it. That's for sure. You'll have a good time. And I can't believe you're gonna be doing videos most days. I mean, you're a hard worker. I was gonna try and do some next week while I'm away, and I logged into our program with Wager Talk, and they just said, dude, we're literally gonna cancel all your codes to get in here. You're taking the week off, so I'm not doing any videos the week while I'm away. But you're making me look bad, Jeff, because you just don't stop.
Well, the mayor of Vegas, our good friend, Mr. Sharapan, called me a choice word. He goes, if you are going on that trip and you do work, you're a bleep, bleep, bleep. And he said it 3 times to me. And so I bought the internet package. I don't have faith in it. I have some people that have reached out to me that said they'll pick up the slack. I'm going to play it day by day. Now, for me, I've done this now for 8 years straight, and I'm just programmed. I'm wired. And so to be out of the loop, I think I'll be lost. Now, maybe I could do some work early in the morning, do whatever in the later afternoon on the ship or at a port, and then come back, do some stuff later in the evening. I'm going to play it day by day. If the internet sucks, then obviously I'm not going to be able to do anything like this. I just think it would be kind of neat. We got a deck right outside our room. So I'd like to be, while everyone's sleeping, doing a nice video as the sun's coming up, talking some sports. And I think it would be kind of neat, on St. John. But who knows? Probably most likely the internet's not going to work. They just got me for a couple $100 and they're going to call me a sucker.
You better get a refund if they did mess with you. But it's going to be a good time. I know that I've been on a couple of resorts, and I know that it's so funny how many packages they have. It's like, here's one package you can get where you can get it just a little bit off your room, and then you go to the lobby, you get Wi-Fi for free, or you can pay $100 more and get Wi-Fi all around the resort. It's like, how do they have that many different types of Wi-Fi connections? We're already paying enough for this resort or cruise. Just give us some internet, But I get it. And I know what you mean about falling out of the loop. For me, I'm used to, when I go to Vegas time is actually 4 hours behind my time where I live. Ireland is going to be 4 hours ahead. So all of the hockey games, the early games, aren't going to start until midnight. So chances are I'm not watching any of the late games because that'll be 4 a.m. But it's going to be kind of funny for football on Sunday because all the early games will be at 6 o'clock. So it's going to be a million games going on, in the evening and stuff like that. But it's going to be weird. I think I would much rather go somewhere to Vegas. I think I'd adapt a lot quicker, stay up late and just get used. It's nice because you gain 4 hours, right? I would much rather travel somewhere gaining time than travel somewhere and losing 4 hours, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. The only thing I know is Saturday night, we're supposed to, if I was staying home locally, we fall back. So we actually gain an hour's sleep. It gets darker at 4:30, right, and it's crazy as we get, winter and then spring, of course. I have no idea when I'm on these islands what the time's going to be. I'm just going to go with the flow. You got a 24-year-old and a 19-year-old. You got a wife. And then we got April's family as well, a couple kids. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting. I live on Cape Cod, which is surrounded by water. I'm not a water guy. I'm not a boat guy. And here I'm going to be stuck on a cruise ship for 7 days, actually 8 days and 7 nights.
So let me ask you, how often are you going to get off it? Are you going to get off at all the stops, or are you going to stay sometimes? Or I've heard it's good to get off most of the time, but sometimes the cruises can be so. I've never been on one. I would like to do it at some point in my life. I've mostly been like a resort person, but I've heard that it's good to make use of it. But if you don't want to get off and check out one of the islands, you can just stay on and have fun on the boat.
Correct. And I know the wife's got a couple excursions set up, so I'll probably get off on those days. We dock in Puerto Rico next Sunday, and then we'll stay the night in Puerto Rico. Then we fly back Monday morning to Boston. So I'll be at least tweeting what's the hell's going on.
I look forward to it.
It's going to be great. And
I
then
have to ask, are you getting one of those bands, the drinking ones? Did you guys get that, or what about your daughters? Are you the cool dad and you don't mind when they drink around you, or how does that work?
The oldest, I'm okay with it. The youngest, who's 19, freshman at UConn, I know there'll be a couple of those slippery slope nights where I might just have to give her the eyes and say, "Excuse me," and
just tell her I'm watching. I'm watching.
That's right there. So it definitely a day by day, my brother, day by day.
That's crazy because 19 is the drinking age in Canada. That's when we can start drinking. In Quebec, it's 18. So I'm always surprised when I hear 21 in the States. But anyway, I guess you can tell what I have in my mind. I'll try and get off that topic of drinking.
It is 21, but yeah, just try to go to a college campus and see these guys, And the funny thing is, some of the young professionals, I remember Charlie McAvoy. I think it was 19 or 20 when he started with the Bruins, and they have one of the hot spots after the game they all go to, and it's roped off, and there's Charlie putting them down. And then, of course, the social media police say, how the hell is Charlie sitting there drinking? He's only 20 years old. Like, come on, pal, get a break, will you?
Yeah. It's funny. I got to bring my passport out sometimes when I go to Boston at the bars, because there apparently there's like so many fake IDs like that float around these like college towns and college parts, and nobody wants to bring their passport out. Like, that's something you don't want to lose, right? But one time I handed somebody my Nova Scotia ID, and they were like, "Where the hell is this? Like, is this made up?" Like, they thought it was fake. It was funny.
That was what happened to me at the passport place. There was my original birth certificate from 1966. Yes, I'll be 56 on November 9th, people. I'm telling my age here, and they're looking at it. It was archaic. They're like, what the hell is this? I'm like, it's the original birth certificate. No, we don't accept this anymore. I'm like, well, this is the only thing I got. All right. It's been a week. It's been actually 8 days. We can circle back the wagons here. The last week in hockey, what are you seeing? How you been doing? How's the props? How's the wins, the under-overs? I talked about it last Thursday on a tweet. Every game was 6.5. It looked like last Thursday. A lot of unders came in. I looked at the 9 games today. 6 of them, I think, are 6.5. The other 3 are 6s. What are you seeing so far in the NHL?
Well, I think that this is kind of, I play these. First of all, I'm pretty much about dead even. I think I'm, minus a tiny bit, but not too much. For me right now, the unfortunate part is that you like to be hitting the big plays and losing the small ones if you have to lose. Right now, it's been kind of the opposite. So I'm hitting around like 57%, Jeff, but I'm negative a tiny bit or break even. So the win percentage is good, but got to figure out hitting those strong plays. But, I like to break down the start of the season in 3 to 4 game quadrants. Take away the road trips for a second, and you just look at these first 3 games of the season, the next 3 or 4 after that, and then the next 3 after that is when I start to actually take teams seriously. So I find that in general, it's a pretty profitable strategy to look at teams that are overachieving in their first 3 to 4 games and fade them in that next 5 to 7 range. And there's a couple spots for that tonight, but you saw it. I had the Seattle Kraken at home against the Sabres at the end of their road trip. That was one that really stuck out to me. And, You look at some of these teams, tonight we have the Panthers. They're taking on the Flyers, who have definitely kind of overachieved a little. And that's one thing I've noticed. You talk about the 6.5. So it's a huge thing to take notice of as well, where these numbers, the thing is, these games, a lot of them do have the capability of going up and over. However, we are seeing them kind of go towards the under a lot more, and the 6.5s are hard to get to. If you don't get at least, you need to have at least 4 goals going into the third period to have a chance, which means 2 goals in the first 2 periods, like each. It's tough, so. But road trips are starting to settle in, and the situational spots are going to start to arrive. So that's kind of what I wait for, Jeff. I mean, as you've seen, I've kind of, I have one good day, one bad, and I'm just trying to make sure those bad days aren't too bad, really. But it's been an interesting start to the year, and really, I'm very confident in my preparation, but I want to see and obtain as much information as I can before I can start confidently firing away. Because right now, I don't know every team as well as I'd like to, especially that team that you're in front of their building right now is a team that is getting Brad Marchand back soon, and I'm a little bit surprised by that. And I kind of wrote them off with their defensive capabilities, but they're playing pretty well.
You brought up the Panthers. Okay, I'll actually say another team first, the Wild. I talked about before the season started. I thought that number smelt. In other words, they were in front of a handful of teams, and I just thought that Vegas is up to something. They know something. I think I'm goose-egged on them, and I put them to the left, and I liked them against your Canadians the other day. Of course, they don't just win, they cover the puck line. Of course, that's how they do it. The Panthers is another one. One of our losses this week was on the Panthers and their team total. Are you noticing any of these, I don't want to say overachievers, these successful teams last year that haven't come out of the gate like they ended last year and then are kind of probably overpriced?
Most definitely. I'm also noticing them play down to their opponent, which is shocking because usually that happens, a couple months into the year or past January or even, leading up to the playoffs. So that has been a little bit surprising. Can you think off the top of your head, Jeff, how many blowouts we've seen this year? I'm talking like blowouts. I don't think I've seen that many, really. A blowout so far this year might be a 5-3 victory or 5-2 win. We haven't seen a 7-2 game yet. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but we usually do see a couple by now, right? And a lot of times it would come from your Floridas or your Colorados or your Tampa Bays. But we're just not seeing it as much, which is quite interesting. The question is really, how do you play these dogs? Is it team totals? Is it playing the team total under for their opponent? That's one thing I want to explore because I have talked about team totals with you on your show. And I know that you're someone that releases team totals quite a bit. And I don't, I'm guilty for playing mostly overs when it comes to team totals, and I won't deny that. What about unders on these favorites? What about not worrying about really the offense of the underdog, but more so because if you look at it, it's kind of interesting. I'll use my Montreal Canadiens as an example because I was going through looking at some different strategies, and if you pull up the Canadian scores, when they're not covering the puck line. So, for example, against the Pittsburgh Penguins, their team total under would have cashed because it would have been 3.5. The Minnesota Wild team total was 3.5. The under would have hit, and that third goal was off an empty netter. The Capitals defeat the Canadiens 3-1. The magic number would have been 4 for the team total. That under cashes in. The funny thing is, if I tried to play the Canadiens in any way, first period, team total over, money line, yada, 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 all those would have lost. So I'm going to throw it to you what your thoughts are on that, because that's something that I've started to explore. I'm always trying to teach myself new things, and you don't want to put too much in your pocket and just, have yourself in a spin cycle and confuse yourself. But that might be something I'm more interested in doing when I notice these flat spots and take the team total under. Because the problem is, I used to say that it makes sense to take the team total over for the underdog. The problem is tonight, if you want the team total over, for some teams that are dogs, it's 2.5, but they make it 150. So it's like, hey, yeah, do you want this great number of 2.5? But you got to play it at a horrible price. But then you've got, wow, this is only minus 125 on the favorite to stay under 3.5 goals, which is something I've been looking at.
Your Wild and Canadian game, this is a perfect example, because you're right. If we played the Wild team total over 3.5, the Canadians team total was 2.5, I think, over minus 170. Okay. So in your mind, when you're playing, we'll go back, when you're playing an under over of 6.5, obviously you need the 3-3, then you're a winner. 4-2, you're stuck in that square peg. So for me, I would look at the Wild, because I'm getting a plus price over the 3.5. I'm not going to release the Canadian team total over 2.5 because it's minus 170. Now, again, you lose everything. The only thing that came in was the Minnesota Wild money line and puck line. Now you start talking empty netters. So I love where your eyes are, and I love the thought process. The question is, I think it's really hard to. Are you more comfortable? And we talked about this a lot last year. Are you more comfortable going to the window, taking a hockey game, a dog plus 220, where in your mind, when you release that and you go to the window, you go to your app to play it, you're like, hey, I'm getting over 2-1. Do I think it's going to hit? Well, I hope it's going to hit. I hope they're competitive. Then you look at the team totals. Montreal, 2.5 minus 170. They're telling you, or should I say they're baiting you. They're going to get to 3, Andrew. Well, if they're going to get to 3 and the Wild are favored minus 220, the Wild then most likely you're going to get to 4, aren't they? Because Vegas is telling you you're going to get a better opportunity at them to win. And none of that came in. So I think if you chart this and pick your spots, again, do you want the plus money or do you want the big favorite? I saw your timeline yesterday, and you and I have talked about it. It's tough to lay 150s, 160s, 170s, because even if you laid 3 of those, you're laying 510 to win 300. And if you go 2-1, you're laying 510 to win $30. That's basically what you're doing.
And that's what I've started to think. And I think it's okay to be able to, I don't want to say go back on something I thought before, but just kind of like change my way of thinking. And you know what? It's like, and I learned a lot of this from you with listening to the market a little bit. If they're telling me there's a good chance they're going to get to 3 goals, you want to know what the Canadians' record is in the last 2 years when they score 3 goals? It's pretty good. It's actually really good. I don't have the numbers for you, but Jake Allen is a great goaltender. Carey Price, we all know what he's capable of. 3 has actually been the magic number for them, and they've been underdogs in a lot of these spots. So if you're going to tell me they're going to get 3 goals at plus 150, then I should be just taking that plus 150. There's no doubt about that. That's that. But I will say there's different chances. There's different times you want to, like, I think tonight's example. So I like the Canadians tonight. Montembeault has been listed as the starter. Jake Allen will not be in the net, which is unfortunate. That's why I haven't actually bet them yet, because I'm hoping that more money comes in on Buffalo because Montembeault is in net, Jeff. But tonight's a good example for the money line, right? Because they're playing a Buffalo team that's off a pretty good road trip. They're feeling good about themselves despite that loss to Seattle. Back at home now, and Montreal is off 2 kind of embarrassing losses where they weren't converting on power plays, yada. This is a spot where I just want to take the value on the money line. Now, if they were going into Florida today and Florida was minus 290, then I would say, I don't want Montreal. I don't want to worry about them beating them. I'll take the 140 on Montreal to score 3 goals. So maybe it's just matchup based, but against a team like Buffalo, if you're going to tell me they're going to score 3 goals, I think they might win the game. So it's definitely always interesting. I know a guy that plays first period team totals. Brandon from Wager Talk. He lays heavy juice on them sometimes, like 180 sometimes. But you look at the charts, and it's funny because you talk to some handicappers and they have their thresholds, right? Like how much they'll release for regulation, for money line, puck line. I think I have changed on that a little bit. Like for UFC, I have a lot different of a juice tolerance than I do for other sports. Obviously, UFC the lines are different, the spread, the odds. But I'll tell you what, if I see a guy listed, like if I see Vincent Trocheck listed at over 2.5 shots, and his is up to minus 160 now, I'm going to bet that because he hasn't missed that number at 3 all season long. But then until it goes to 3.5, I'm going to keep betting the 2.5. Whereas the old Andrew would say, no, you can't bet minus 160. Why can't I? Why can't I bet a 1.6 units to win one? It's interesting. I've definitely changed a little bit. I'm not saying I bet more heavy favorites. I'm just saying I'm starting to understand the math a lot more. And if it makes sense, why not? How many people had the Leafs last week against Dallas, right? In regulation because they're a minus 170. Regulation loses, boom, you're down, you're 1.1 bet or whatever it was. But if you laid the 170, you didn't care about the juice because you won. So it's interesting. What about you? Like with your clients, I know you do a lot of team totals. Like, do you stay off a game because of, I know you play puck lines and stuff, but do you stay off a game because it's 150 when it should be 145, or is it all circumstantial?
I would like to say it's all circumstantial. Here's the problem. You end up, and you'll see on the alerts where, perfect example last night on the Miami Heat, okay? Got 138, 139 at one shop. And then I looked everywhere else. It was 140, as high as 145. And that starts the tricky slope. That's why I'll add the note where that says, I got it here. This is where it's going. I will also usually add a note for anyone that thinks that this is too much juice.
Yeah.
The risk button is your friend. So just stick to what you're used to. So you risk your 1 unit, and if you lose your 1 unit. You profit a little less, but you're not going into the 145s, because what happens is once you start getting into the 145s, then your 150s. Once you tip your toes in the 150s and start going to the 55s and 60s, then all bets are off because you're not afraid. You talked about the UFC. Now, that's a once a week thing. Listen, you talk to some of the real sharp guys in the UFC. They don't have a problem laying minus 200 or 250 because their actual number is minus 400. They think the market is wrong. So I am getting value at a minus 250 when the actual real number should be 400. We had Zaid Hussein on last weekend where Jan had opened up minus 400. It was down to minus 260. So therefore there was value there at 260 because the opening number was minus 400. So I'm going to circle all the way back, Andrew, and I'm going to go to your Canadians right now. Okay. Yeah. So 705 puck drop, rotation number 5152, Canadians at Buffalo. A Chris opening line of minus 145, a corrected line right now with minus 175. I see it as high as 195 at DraftKings. Okay. Buffalo's first game back off of a successful road trip. And your Canadians coming onto a road trip. Their last game was at home.
Yes.
Against
they had a home stand.
Okay. So Montreal's team total, 2.5 over 155. Buffalo's team total, 3.5 over 145. So you talked about 3 being the magic number. If your Canadians are going to get to 3, and Buffalo's almost a 2-1 favorite, and they're telling you Buffalo's got a 45% chance to get to 4, wouldn't it be more beneficial if you like Montreal today? You can sprinkle a little on the money line, but take the over 6.5 minus 35 cents.
I think it would. The only thing that would kind of worry me is Buffalo coming out flat to start the game, and just based on feeling good about their road trip, first game back at home, and an eager Montreal team, like I mentioned, off 2 rough losses. The thing is about it's funny because their loss against Dallas is way different than their loss against Minnesota, because their loss against Minnesota was 2-1 with the empty. However, they had all kinds of chances to score. I watched that game. I watched most of the Canadians games. The one against Dallas, they deserved to lose. So I'm not saying they deserve to win against Minnesota. They deserve to lose that one as well, I guess. But they definitely were a lot more blown out against Dallas than they were against Minnesota, right? So I kind of like the fact that Montreal's coming off 2 losses like that. If they were coming off 2 home wins, now they had on the road to play Buffalo, I'd be a little bit more concerned about it. But I get it. But something tells me that even with Montembeault and net, I kind of do want to just stick with the money line for them. Montreal really hasn't been that bad defensively, and they've got a lot of young guys. Where they have four rookie defensemen right now. That's pretty crazy to think about, but I get it, and I would lean that way towards the over. It wouldn't shock me. And the funny thing is, we're actually getting a decent number with it. Like, it's like 120, 125, depending on where you look. It's not anywhere near 7, but I like Montreal, and I'll tell you what, I'm happy as I can be the fact that I didn't take them earlier this morning. I've been making a lot of wagers these days, Jeff, in the mornings or after my Puck Time show finishes. That's up to plus 165, 170 at some books. Like you mentioned, we're seeing, we're seeing 195 live right now on DraftKings. Is Buffalo that much better than Montreal? We'll find out.
I got something sharp for you right now. On Circa, I'm on the app right now. Buffalo is only minus 154 in the first period. Canadians plus 135.
Wow.
So I like your thought process of coming out, a little sense of urgency, Buffalo being a little flat. And I think for me, don't be surprised. Canadians first period plus 135.
I like it. I like that a lot. And so can you tell me what the full game is on that, on Circa?
Sure.
I'm curious how much different it is compared to what I'm seeing here on DK, but that is really interesting. They're really thinking that Montreal gets off to a good start.
Sabres minus 183, Canadians plus 166, wow. Buffalo minus a goal and a half plus 138, Canadians plus a goal and a half minus 157, under over 6 and a hook, juiced over minus 130, under plus 110.
Wow. And it pays to shop around depending on what team you want to bet on and where you want to go. But they're telling you the same thing. Like you said, they're telling you they expect a good start from the Montreal Canadiens on this road trip. Look, Buffalo's a good team for them to start their road trip off against. Buffalo is a team that activates their defensemen a lot, which Montreal does too. Dallas, that game against Dallas is the type of team that Montreal plays horrible against because they lock things down defensively and they counterattack you. But I know this doesn't really have much to do with betting, but if you're tuning into this game, I really predict that a lot of the goals we're going to see in this game tonight, Jeff, are going to be odd man rushes, 2-on-1s and stuff like that. But it's going to be like pond hockey out there. So I can't talk you off the over you were talking about because they're both teams are young, fast, have lots of goal scorers, and I do worry about the rebound control from Montembeault and the goaltending from the Buffalo has been on and off. I gotta say, I mean, sometimes that, I'm not trying to pat myself in the back from the Kraken pick because it's not like it's been an outstanding season for me, but that was worrisome for me with Buffalo because Kraken aren't like that good. They're better than they've played, but it almost seems like they fell back to earth and they hit it hard in that game. Would you agree? I mean, Buffalo looked real good. I want to pull up these numbers right now because I saw it. So the expected goal numbers for Buffalo is it's way up. Like they're performing better than they actually should be, but their goaltending expected goals is what's really killing me. Is that they're actually making some big saves, which I think you and I have to agree that should probably fall down a little bit.
100%. The other thing is with the season starts to go, you start to see it a lot more. I mean, early in the season, I think you get teams that are overachieving and teams that are underachieving, teams that are a little unhealthy. They're waiting for certain players to get back. Uh, Last game of a successful road trip, Buffalo, Seattle. Hey, we already had a winning trip. It doesn't matter if we win, lose, or draw here. We're already getting plans to get back home. Haven't been in the Big Ben in over a week and can't wait. And they got their bags already packed. They're already in the plane, and they just got 1 foot out of Dodge, waiting to get back home.
It's certainly a factor. I think that, I have to say that I've noticed myself playing a little bit too much into road trips so far this year when it's the start of the season, it's all good. You got to learn what you've made mistakes on. And I think that November, December is where that should really start mattering. Right now, they don't even know what road or home is because the season just started, right? So that's one thing I've noticed so far. But St. Louis, Nashville, I wanted to ask you on the show your thoughts on that game because, first of all, back-to-backs, keeping it very simple, stupid. Carmine, who I do the show with every day, he's been keeping the stats on it. Teams on the second half of a back-to-back are getting smoked. It's been a keep it simple, stupid mindset right now. The back-to-back teams are not playing very well. But this is a St. Louis team that has a good record personally, bouncing back off a loss. They played Edmonton last night, and Nashville. They haven't looked good at all since returning from Europe. My question to you is this number priced correctly at 170? How good is Nashville? Does Nashville ever deserve to have this price? I don't know if they do or not, but I like them.
Well, for me, immediately, we got sniped. You could tell right away. Edmonton scored early last night. The Blues. I talked about you for length last year. St. Louis in that second period where they were scoring field goals. I'm waiting for that onslaught. I was hoping, especially when you're doing team totals, and if you got overs in a game, you need some kind of back and forth. As you knew on your timeline the other day, you had an over, and one team's got 5 goals. You're like, hello, can someone help me on the other side? And so again, my eyes there. I think initially Nashville a little overpriced, but again, the back-to-back. So that's baked in there. Number one, I go over to the team totals. St. Louis 2.5 over -130. So most people would say, St. Louis is going to get to 3. For me tonight, let me see what the under over is there. It's a flat 6. So this is one of the flat 6. You got a Nashville team total 3.5 juiced under -130. So for me initially, if I was on the Nashville side, I obviously would have to decide, am I going to take the puck line or am I going to take the Nashville side to get to 4 goals at the +110 money?
And it quite possibly could be a team total type of game. That's for sure. But then again, goaltending hasn't been that bad from either guys for St. Louis. That's a thing as well to take into account. But if Nashville is going to break out and have their first win here in North America since the season started, maybe they do score 4 goals to get it. I want to mention that, I'm a huge fan of, these props and these trends, and I have no problem riding streaks, Jeff. For me, when I'm riding a streak, and I'm disappointed in myself, I decided to keep Trocheck off my list last night, which I don't know why I did that. He hit again. But Jordan Kyrou, he's cashed his over 2.5 shots in every game this season besides last night. So he gets another night immediately right after last night to come out here. And again, they haven't changed him to 3.5. He's still at 2.5. You can get it at 135 or 40, depending on where you're looking around. And I always try and tell people when you're looking at this prop, you want to look at attempts as well, not just kind of the shots on goal, how many attempts they're taking at the net. For him, first of all, he's been averaging anywhere between 17 to 20 minutes of ice time, which is really good. And, we've seen up to 8 attempts from him per game. We saw a couple with 4 or 5, but he's out there on the power play as well. And I think that when you're looking at certain games like this is where you could really look at shots. Forsberg is a guy I want to look for as well. But it's just these shots on goal props. I almost have a couple teams just circled where I'm going to say that guy, that guy, that guy. And if I don't have a play on the game, the props definitely could be a factor. I mean, the New York Rangers are a team that we love talking about their defense, but guess what? Jacob Trouba has had 2 games this year with 9 shots on goal. His number is 2.5 every game. So it's important to look at that stuff as well.
9 games on the slate. We've already broke down a couple of them. I mean, just from the eye test, again, kind of surprising to see the Kraken as a minus 130 against a struggling Vancouver team. Bo doesn't know hockey right now. I'm not sending him a Christmas card right away there. Edmonton back-to-back at Chicago. Chicago's been sneaky at home of late. Another team that no one expects a lot of. The Bruins. Here's where my eye test in the market, something stinks to high heaven here. Bruins opening number was only minus 210 against the Red Wings. The public has now pushed it to 249, 250. Is this under over of a 6? There is now 6.5s and 6s. Is this one of those flat Bruins 3-2 wins, or is the initial number off? Is this a trap game? I mean, we're waiting for the Bruins slipper to fall here, and they've been playing pretty well there, Andrew.
They certainly have, especially at the Garden. If I'm looking at this game, I don't play these type of wagers that often because I do get screwed by the empty net, but I actually would look towards the plus 1.5 goals for the Wings. I think that they'll keep it close. They'll come out hungry. They had a good start to their year, but they haven't looked as great since, and they've got a lot of good young players that will fire shots on goal, and actually a good goaltender now. Let's not forget they had goaltending issues for a couple of years now. That's where I'd look. I think that it's going to be a tight game, and I wouldn't mind going the whole game knowing I have a goal and a half in hand. So that's where I'd look here with the puck line for the underdog.
Anything else stand out to you in the NHL board tonight?
A couple. I lean towards the Ottawa Senators at plus 110. I think that's a pretty good look there for them. Obviously, the Wild. Pretty good East Coast trip there for them, and Ottawa, not off their best game, but Dallas is one I really like here tonight. Minus 120. The clients have already received that one. You look at a Washington Capitals team. I think they're a nightmare matchup, or I guess Dallas is a nightmare matchup for them. You look at what Washington does, and they go over every game. But when they're doing that, Jeff, they're also allowing their opponent to score. Whether or not they're winning or not, they're giving up goals. Dallas, even when they lose in low-scoring fashion, it seems like. And when they win, they've won like 4-1, 4-2, things like that. I think it is a nightmare for them. They have been a little bit inconsistent, but Washington has been more of a roller coaster. And I think at home, we're getting a really solid price with them. So I like the Stars at home tonight. And a team that I will admit I've had a rough read on this year. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the window with this one or not. I'm still having some time to look over the board and make my decisions, but the Winnipeg Jets could be a live dog tonight at plus 120 on the road. Any thoughts on that?
No. I looked at that one. I have that one highlighted. The Kings have been for some years now. I've had some good runs with the Kings, and then I've had some nightmares with the Kings. My eyes lean dog here. 6 and it's a flat 6. Here again, here's the bait here. Jets team total over 2.5 at minus 150. They're like, come to the window. They're going to get 3. Yeah. Don't worry about it. And the Kings is 3.5 juice under minus 140. So they're telling you, don't worry. You're going to get your 3-3, and someone's going to win 4-3 in overtime. If it was that simple, you and I would be in the presidential suite of the Bellagio, and we'd never leave.
I definitely wouldn't. That's for sure. And that's a good example for it too. I think that the Winnipeg Jets are a team that they're not really a total team for me because they're kind of like Montreal. Honestly, is if they do get 3 goals, I have a good chance of winning that game. You know what I mean? Especially in a game against LA, where some teams. Like, honestly, I'll use Ottawa as an example for that. Ottawa probably is a good total team, because they're prone to giving up, leads or third period breakdowns but they've got snipers everywhere, all over the ice, young players, vets. They might be a good. So I guess some teams are team total teams, and some teams for me, I'm just willing. And I'm talking about underdogs here, especially what kind of what the strategy you and I have talked about today. Mostly underdogs for me with that. But yeah, the Jets are a team that if I'm playing them tonight, I'm playing them to win. Let's shape this up real quick here, Jeff. Let's take a look at Jets. We got the Jets, Canadians, Senators, 3-team parlay plus 1,124. That would be quite the 3-team underdog parlay there.
Say that one more time.
Jets, Canadians, Senators plus 1,124. I'm going to lock that in right here on the show. Nothing crazy.
That's going to be your new go-to on Thursdays. We're going to ask for your 3-team dog parlay, and you'll have a full week sitting in Ireland at the pubs at 4 a.m. watching live hockey and watching the NFL.
I'm going to be the Kelly in Vegas of hockey. Try and find my 3 live dogs.
I'm gonna I'm gonna close with this. I was watching the Knights at San Jose 2 nights ago, 2-2 going into the third, and then the Sharks just thought that there was only 40 minutes in that game, and the Kings just dominated. And I'm sorry, the Knights just dominated, scored 2 goals, won 4-2. In come the Leafs that got me good the other day again. Minus 210. It's 230 right now at Chris. Do they deserve that kind of fanfare at San Jose?
The problem is that they play down to their opponents, but they're off a loss and they're off a game. They're not. They play down to their opponents more so when they've actually been playing better recently. You know what I mean? Like when it's a quote unquote flat spot for them. This does smell like a game that they could run the score up a little bit. I like the over in general. The Leafs have actually been an under team so far this season, which is shocking to all of us. But a lot of that is because, Cole Caulfield has more goals himself than Matthews, Marner, and Tavares do combined, which I had to sneak that one in for you. But look, I mean, I think that they're capable of getting going. The San Jose Sharks are a good team they'll break out against. And let's be honest here, San Jose is bad, Jeff, but they're not as bad as they've been playing. They're not. I mean, they're a bad team, but they're not that bad. So maybe a full game over tonight in the nightcap. And we'll see how the night goes beforehand. And if I have a good night, maybe I'll sprinkle on that late night DGM play. I haven't played that yet and don't plan on sending it out, but maybe I'll get involved.
All right. So we got one game here on Friday. I was trying to see if I could use this for you. Was this one of your CFL games, BC and Winnipeg?
It is. So pretty much, Winnipeg, first of all, is it's not really a fun team to fade anytime. That's for sure. But actually, the 2 games I like are very similar here. And I'm just going to, if it's okay with you, I'm going to talk about them as a collective. The 2 games I like are Toronto and Montreal, and BC and Winnipeg. Frankly, both the favorites are at home, and I like both dogs. I did get the Alouettes at plus 3.5. That's now 3. But the playoff matchups are already set. Winnipeg already has a bye to the conference finals. So does Toronto. So you might ask yourself, well, how much are they going to try? What does this game mean to them? I'm sure they want to stay in tip-top shape and play well. But I'll tell you what, if I am Montreal, I don't want to take a week off. I don't want to forget how to play good football. I don't want to rest my starters for 3 quarters of football and then them lose that drive for next week. I want them to be ready. I want us to, have any new plays we've added or any things we're tweaking to be fixed. I want it to be a well-oiled machine. And that's how I feel about BC. Don't you think BC would love nothing more than to upset or, kick their ass of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a team that's clearly the favorite to win everything? And let's be honest here, in the West, the only team standing in their way is BC. And we're getting points with them on the highway. So I like both of those dogs. And I will tell you, I'm going to do the Jeff Dawson sprinkle a little bit on them as well, because I think you could cash at least one of them outright. And that's all I have for you in the CFL this weekend. I don't want to worry about those other games. And last week, I got to say, it was a good, after I had 2 rough weeks in a row, last week was a good week. We made some money, we cashed in, and I shouted out Teddy Cover's line, how he always says that when a team's dead, they're dead. And in fact, we have to go to a funeral, I think, for the Edmonton Elks, because their team is going to be dead. Their franchise isn't doing very well, but I was happy to cash it. I don't like laying 7 at the end of a season, but didn't mind doing it last week.
All right, let me get producer here. I'm going to try to get out of here for us. Here we can. Come on. All right, hold on. Hey, look at that, huh? These mouses that are wireless like to work on their own, Andrew, sometimes.
I hear you.
And it's doing it to me right now.
So, Jeff, while you figure that, I was just going to mention that I saw you texted me about it the other day or yesterday. I'm trying to figure out the Twitch software, which is a new thing for me, and I don't like feeling like I'm not good with technology because I'm usually good with it. So as for now, I'm going to be just mostly using StreamYard, which will be streaming to Twitch, which is really cool because StreamYard you can actually use to connect to Twitch, and people can log on to the Twitch and interact with us. We are going to be letting people hop on as well, and send the link to them, and if they're fun and appropriate and cashing some tickets, we'll keep them on, and if not, give them the boot. But we're getting things going, and I've got the clearance from Wager Talk to try and build up my own brand on that, and we're going to sweat some games out live on the air. We're going to talk about some pregame and all that good stuff. And what's cool about these, Jeff, is that sometimes you can keep the videos, but that's not what it's for. With this, somebody might want to watch what you and I had to say here today at 6 o'clock before the game start. With, what I'm talking about for these streams, it's more so conversation, tips, taking questions from the commenters, stuff that nobody would really maybe want to look back on afterwards. We can clip things and have fun like that, but the Twitch is the ball is rolling, just like how you've been talking about with your office, which is looking exceptional. I'm trying to get things going with my Twitch channel and building that brand up. So if you're around this week or if you're around next week, I'm doing it tonight at around 5 Eastern or 5:30 Eastern. If you're around, you can hop on with me. But next week, we'll definitely get it going when I'm back, and we'll try and plan out some schedules. But that's all I really wanted to mention on the show was, if that's all right with you, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, I saw you yesterday. I sent you the text. I says, I see you on your timeline. And we've talked at length about that, and super, super excited. I told you, if I can fit it in and squeeze it in, I'm blessed and honored to be a part of something like that. I've talked about Twitch for a long, long time. It helped me get through the pandemic. I was able to follow some poker people and just to keep the gerbil off that wheel, and even while you're working, I got the 2 screens up here. We're going live off of the laptop, and Twitch is a big piece of, because I use StreamYard, the fact that, we're on live on Twitter, Facebook, IG, YouTube, Twitch, and then we have the producer Kiefer come in and does his magic. I've always wanted to get into just Twitch. I really do. And I have the studio half set up there. Again, if I was to just try to do a live stream on studio, I'd be stumbling and bumbling because, all right, guys, I'm here. And I'd be do. But that's part of it, is to build your following. Because I will tell you this, if you go through the archives on Twitch, there's been hundreds of people that have tried to, in our lanes, create a Twitch channel and to create a following. It doesn't exist. We're on there because of StreamYard. I know your Wager Talk team is there as well, but there's really no one. They've tried, but they've given up, and that's where the times are going. That's where the times are going, Andrew.
And believe me, if I got 10 viewers for the first 3 weeks, it won't bother me. I think it's something that you have to just be able to have fun with it by yourself and enjoy what you're doing and enjoy the company of the people that are with you. And it's like the field of dreams. You build it and they will come. And that's hopefully the goal. If you're worried about viewers and all that stuff at the gate, that's the thing. People will start a YouTube channel and they'll finish it in 1 month because they're not getting views. If your goal in 1 month is views, then you're not doing it the right way. You need to have quality and fun and consistency. That's to me the biggest thing.
100%. It's like in our lanes, quality over quantity, consistency, 100% transparency. If you got all those attributes, well, you're well on your way.
That's true. And this business is getting it's building so fast. The states are getting legalized. Canada's, really moving forwards. I get messages every day from family and friends saying, I'm tired of seeing these gambling advertisements all over my TV, but it's a good thing for us in our lane.
And it's funny, I'll close with this, is DraftKings, whose home state is Boston, Massachusetts. They have their corporate headquarters in Boston, is basically sent out to the state legislature and says, hey, I know you guys are dragging your feet. I know you want to go brick and mortar sometime in January, mobile's up in March. Can you just give us the single license so we can get up and running, and who the hell cares about everyone else? And I got Sports Grid on right now. Craig Mish is on as I speak, and he brings on, attorneys, lawyers, and people following this. And they're talking about now even another delay for Massachusetts. And I'm just like, will you guys just get it over with?
That's what bothers me. It's kind of like they announced it's legalized and when it's going to happen. And then in like 8 months later, you got a sports book. So it's frustrating, but it'll come. And I'll tell you what, you might see me a little bit more often in Boston if they start getting some nice sports books.
The scroller's been working the whole time. Ed McInnis picks at Wager Talk at Sports Mayflower. Run over to YouTube to Mayflower Sports. Subscribe. It's free. You can always reach out to Andrew. ECSI 15 promo code, $15 off. Andrew, any special packages this weekend before you leave for Ireland, or is it basically we're going to play the weekend out? I'm going to go to Ireland and then we're going to come back.
Yeah, I've got UFC going this weekend. I've got some NFL, 3 sides I like, and 1 total. So kind of a bigger week for me in the NFL. Actually, I've been very low volume. And of course, NHL, and you guys just heard my CFL plays. So they do have some Halloween specials, but I guess I'm being kind of bad at marketing myself because I can't remember what they are right now. There's some couple coupon codes, but reach out to me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at McGinnis Picks, and do me a favor, check out my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/McGinnis Picks, and I'm sure I'll have Jeff on with me before you know it.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Andrew McInnis at McGinnis Picks and Wager Talk, we wish everyone a blessed day and evening. The weekend is almost here. There's even an NFL game on tonight. You got some college football, CFL tomorrow. World Series starts tomorrow. Before you go, who wins the World Series and in how many games?
Astros in 6.
Astros. Mattress Mac will thank you. How's that?
And all my Philadelphia coworkers will hate me. But
yes, Mr. Dan won't be talking to you.
Yes. Give me the Stros.
Give me the Stros. 72 million reasons why Mattress Mac is hoping and praying for the Stros. I tell you what, here's what I'm hoping, because I have in my Circa Millions 3-team parlay, I have the Stros with Bama, with Buffalo. So I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling confident. But if you want, put a gun to my head, the Phillies are as dangerous as they come. They remind me of the 18 Red Sox, the 19 Nationals. I repeat, don't let them win game 1, steal it with Nola, and then have Wheeler come back in game 2, because the Astros will feel the pressure, and this Phillies team is undefeated at home in the playoffs.
It's a pretty good home field advantage, that's for sure. I look forward to it. Man, I like that. Bama, Bills, and Stros for your 3-team. I like that.
$100 at Circus paying me $11,000.
Ooh, man, I like that.
We'll go out. Hey, if we get the first two in, maybe I'll fly you out for the Super Bowl weekend. How's that? So we can root the Bills home.
Oh, I'll root them on as big as I possibly can with you. That's for sure. I like that.
Thanks for everyone watching. Retweet. It's like tipping the dealer if you can. If you're not following us, please follow us. We'll follow you back. Don't forget to check out Andrew on Twitch coming soon. And again, from myself at EC Sports Invest, we wish everyone a blessed day, and we will see you soon.